what's going on? Well, I know it's been a while since I've done a vlog, so I decided to talk to you about a topic that I've been wanting to talk to you about for a while, and I've actually been wanting to make this video for a while, but lately things have just been, kind of crazy. I've been working a lot at the radio station. I am back at work at the radio station, and I've been, doing weddings and doing gigs and other things, so I've been pretty busy, so I just really haven't had a lot of time to record a vlog, so I decided to go ahead and do that this morning because this is a vlog that I've been wanting to do for a while. Now, let me go ahead and say that, I've read all these stories on the DJ Ideas Sharing Facebook page about DJs having emergencies happen when they're at a gig. Now, I'm not talking about like equipment failure or, the computer stopped working or something like that. I'm talking about a real emergency, like where somebody has a heart attack or you have a problem yourself, a medical emergency. And, I was thinking, reading all these stories and everything on the DJ Ideas Sharing Facebook page about other DJs. I've heard other DJs talk about somebody, having a heart attack right there in the middle of the dance floor. I've even heard of some fatal things happening at weddings and things like that. And, of course, I'd never had anything like that happen before. And, there's a first time for everything. But I do have to say that at a recent wedding I did, there was a medical emergency that happened. I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. But first of all, I do want to mention that I never mentioned this in the actual gig log, but it was at a recent wedding that I did that this particular incident happened. And like I said, I didn't mention it in the gig log. I just thought it'd be better to go ahead and address it later in another video and just kind of share some thoughts on that. But here's what happened. Okay, I was doing a wedding and reception, and it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was outside. The ceremony was outside. The reception was going to be inside. And it was not really too hot that day, I guess. It was about maybe 77, 78, but it probably felt a little bit hotter with our humidity that we have here in Florida during the spring. And everything went good throughout the ceremony, and just as we hit the recessional song at the end of the ceremony, the bride and groom came walking up the aisle, and of course the bridesmaids and groomsmen were going to follow them. That's normally how it goes. Well, the bride and groom had just cleared the last row of chairs, and the bridesmaids and groomsmen were getting ready to come off the platform and walk up the aisle. But then all of a sudden, I saw the bridesmaids and groomsmen all of a sudden start running. And I thought for a second there, you know what, they're probably going to do something cute here with the bride and groom. They're going to come up and slap them up beside the head or something like that. Because I'd met them the night before. I'd been at the rehearsal and had, talked to several of the bridesmaids and groomsmen. And they just kind of struck me that way. They kind of struck me as people who would do something, kind of funny right there at the last minute. But then I quickly realized that they were jumping off that platform and they were running toward a guest there because I saw a bunch of chairs being turned over and stuff like that, and I saw a bunch of guests getting up and moving around and forming a circle around this elderly gentleman there, and they got him on the ground, and I heard somebody yell out, quickly call 911. And the bride and groom turned around, and the good news about that is that the bride and groom are EMTs, or actually they're former EMTs, but they still have their training, and I think most of their bridesmaids and groomsmen were EMTs as well. But anyway, the bride had looked around, the groom had looked around, and they started talking to this guy. They said, go call 911. Well, here's the problem. We were in an area where we couldn't get cell phone coverage. And now that was a scary situation right there because one of the guests there at the wedding had to go jump in his car and drive up the street where he could even get a signal to call 911. And anyway, we come to find out that this elderly gentleman, they thought he was having a heart attack, but he started coming around, and they took his shirt off and all that other stuff. But apparently he just got overheated. But they were able to get some ice on him and things like that. He started coming around, started talking again, and then they ended up getting a golf cart and driving him up to the main road where he met the ambulance and was later taken to the hospital. And he was, treated there, and I think he was treated for high blood pressure and some other things. But it was just a scary moment there. I mean, I'd never had that happen before, but, like I said, the scariest thing that happened during that particular situation was there was no cell phone coverage. And I think that was probably the worst thing that could have happened. Not having cell phone coverage and having a guest have to jump in a car and go call 911. But thank goodness this gentleman was okay. Now you're wondering, okay, who was this gentleman? Was he a friend of the brides or the grooms, or was he a grandfather or something like that? Well, come to find out that he was actually just a guest there that was going to be doing a speech during the reception. And he works for LifeQuest, or I think his wife may work for LifeQuest. And then, of course, if you're not familiar with what LifeQuest is, the bride and groom had a child that had passed away a couple of years ago. They had a child together, and they donated the child's organs, and this guy was coming to give a speech at the reception about that. And apparently he got overheated and had to be transported to the hospital. So anyway, it all turned out well. He and his wife left, and they didn't come back for the reception, but I was glad to hear that everything turned out well. But still, a scary situation there. I mean, when you're sitting there doing a ceremony, and all of a sudden you see everybody start moving, chairs start getting knocked out of the way, and somebody yells 911, I mean, that can get your adrenaline rushing, as you can imagine, if you're a DJ. But yeah, it's just, like I said, I'd never had a medical emergency happen quite like that before. The closest thing I'd have to say that I had happen one time was I did have a guy at a wedding I was doing. He ended up having an allergic reaction to something he ate, and he needed some Benadryl. And I had to get on the microphone and ask if anybody had any Benadryl, which I gave it to him, and he was okay. But other than that, I've never really had a medical emergency like that. But yeah, scary situation. I'm just glad it all turned out well. And I talked to the bride afterwards, and she told me that that when she saw everybody running toward there, she thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do CPR at my own wedding." But thank goodness she didn't have to do that. But I don't know, have you ever had anything like that happen? It's always good to be on your toes and know what to do in case something like that happens. And it's just a good reminder that something can happen at any time. We just don't know when that's going to happen. But yeah, I'm glad everything worked out with that particular situation. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. We just never know what's going to happen at a wedding reception. We just got to be prepared just in case we ever do need to call 911. And if something like that hasn't happened to you, it took me almost 18 years before something like that happened to me. But it's still something that you're not going to forget, and definitely a scary situation. Alrighty, that's where we're going to leave this. We got more vlogs to come, got more gig logs coming up. So until next time, practice and enjoy.